Invisible disability or hidden disabilities are defined as disabilities that are not immediately apparent. Some people with visual or auditory disabilities who do not wear glasses or hearing aids or discrete hearing aids may not be obviously disabled. Some people who do have vision loss may wear contacts. Sitting disability is another category of invisible impairments. Sitting problems are usually caused by chronic back pain. Those with joint problems or chronic pain may not use mobility aids on Sundays or at all. Although the disability creates a challenge for the person who has it, the reality of the disability can be difficult for others to recognize or acknowledge. Others may not understand the cause of the problem if they cannot see evidence of it in a visible way.
People with some kinds of invisible disabilities, such as chronic pain or some kind of sleep disorder, are often accused of faking or imagining their disabilities. These symptoms can occur due to chronic illness, chronic pain, injury, or birth disorders. They're not always obvious to the onlooker. Invisible disabilities are certain kinds of disabilities that are not immediately apparent to others. It is estimated that 10% of people in the U.S. have a medical condition which could be considered a type of invisible disability.
Invisible disability or hidden disability is an umbrella term that captures a whole spectrum of hidden disabilities or challenges that are potentially neurological in nature. Do people sometimes have difficulty understanding how your symptoms such as extreme fatigue, dizziness, pain, and cognitive impairments can be so debilitating to you, but can even be met with hostility by society at large?
Nearly 1 in 2 people in the United States has a chronic medical condition of one kind or another. But most of these people are not considered to be disabled, as their medical conditions do not impair their everyday lives. These people do not use an assistive device, and most look and act perfectly healthy. According to Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, an individual with a disability is a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one's major life activities, has a record of such impairment, or is regarded as having such an impairment.
Generally, seeing a person in a wheelchair, wearing a hearing aid, or carrying a white cane tells a person may be disabled. What about invisible disabilities that make life a bit more difficult for the body? Invisible disabilities can include chronic illnesses such as renal failure, diabetes, and sleep disorders. Those diseases significantly impair activities of daily living.
Invisible disabilities are the most common type of disability among college students. For example, students with learning disabilities, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and/or psychiatric disabilities may request accommodations even though they do not appear to have a disability. There are numerous other hidden or invisible disabilities such as heart condition, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and seizure disorder.
A growing number of organizations, governments, and institutions are implementing policies and regulations to accommodate persons with invisible disabilities. Governments and school boards have implemented screening tests to identify students with learning disabilities, as well as other invisible disabilities such as vision or hearing difficulties or problems in cognitive ability.
About 10% of Americans have a medical condition which could be considered an invisible disability. 96% of people with chronic medical conditions live with the condition that is invisible. These people do not use a cane or any assistive device and act as if they didn't have a medical condition. About 25% of them have some type of activity limitation, ranging from mild to severe. The remaining 75% are not disabled by their chronic conditions. And disabled does not mean unable, and just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there.